Reflections of a Motown legend. A founding member of the Supremes, the most successful Motown act of the 1960s, and best-charting female group in history. One of the best-selling girl groups of all time, with 12 number one singles on the Billboard Hot 100. Her book, Dream Girl, My Life as a Supreme, is one of the best-selling rock and roll autobiographies of all time. And today we are honoring the life and legacy of Miss Mary Wilson of the Supremes. And our special guest tonight is a professional basketball player and founder of the Harlem Clowns, playing alongside Harlem Globetrotters great Meadowlark Lemon, and most recently the founder of the R&B Music Hall of Fame, which has enshrined more than 200 legendary recording artists, musicians, and industry personalities since 2013, including the Supreme Lady, Miss Mary Wilson. We're going to welcome LaMont ShowBoat Robinson to the R&B Showcase.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
How you doing, man? How's it going, LaMont?
I'm doing good. How's it going with you, Tim?
I'm doing good, man. This whole trying to hold it down. I mean, the last couple of weeks have been kind of difficult. We lost Gil Saunders of Harold Melvin of the Blue Notes, and then most recently Miss Mary Wilson of the Supremes. And we're trying to keep the legacy of these great artists out there, Lamont, just like what you're doing with your foundation, man.
Well, just like what you're doing, keeping everybody alive on your radio show. And I really appreciate it. And you forgot to mention, you're inducted to the National Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame first class. So, kudos to you. Well,
that was a great time, man. 2013 at the auditorium there in Cleveland. That was great, man. That's a special moment I'll never forget, man. Yeah, that was the first induction. That was an inaugural induction.
First one, and you were in the first class.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, how many inductions have you had so far with the Hall of Fame?
I've had 9 altogether.
Okay.
And we have inducted over 200 world-renowned names. And we had the last 5 right here in Detroit. We did somewhat of a virtual last year because of the pandemic. And we're kind of in a wait-and-see approach now, which way we're going to go. We're going to do another virtual or do a live wait to 2022. So, nevertheless, things are moving forward.
Mm-hmm. So you said you've been in Motown. Now you live in Motown now, right? In Detroit?
I live in Detroit. Yep. I left Cleveland, my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, back in, I want to say, the latter part of 2014.
Okay.
And came here to the Motor City. They welcomed me with open arms, and got a chance to meet and be acquainted with Duke and Martha Reeves and the whole gang that's here. You still got a lot of Motown people, and a lot of Northern Soul people that's here in the area, and a lot of the people's bands, a lot of the artists' bands live here. So, got a chance to really get into this whole Motor City thick of things, and it's been great.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're certainly right in the hub, and that's a great place for music. I understand they're doing some more work with the Motown Museum. They're building it up, I believe, right?
Yes. I went down maybe about 2 weeks ago, and they built the atrium that's in between the two houses, which will be some exhibit space, and then they're going to do a theater and some more exhibit space. You're looking at an additional somewhere around 50,000 square feet.
I'm looking forward to visiting Detroit and checking that out, Lamont. That should be great.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a lot of things here, and we're going to make an announcement probably within another month or so on our project, something big. I'd like to come back on your show and make an announcement. But, things really were coming together in terms of being able to really put this together and really give these artists a home.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Now, you still have the Traveling Museum, Lamont?
Still have the Traveling Museum. We still have that. And, due to the pandemic, we haven't been able to do too much over the last year or so. But we're still documenting everything and, making things happen. So with that, I'm happy. And, I guess part of the reason why I'm on this call is because of the great late Mary Wilson. And, she was one of the staples over the last, since 2013. And recently, the last, 2016, the last 4 or 5 years, she's come into town and been a board member and really helped me. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, she's hosted a couple of those shows as well, right, Lamont?
Yeah, she hosted all the ones that was here in Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
215. That's the year we had Dennis Edwards and a lot of the Motown greats. But from that point on, she was here every year, 3 days, and she helped me host and got some of the artists, they came in, and I mean, she was just not only a board member, but just a strength and support for me. She stood side by side with me. We didn't talk every day, but if she needed to get to her, but if I needed something in the body, of course, with Mary knew everybody, I could get to them. So she's going to be missed, man. I mean, this is something that she wanted. So, our goal is now to name one of the awards after her. And once we get this resurrected building, get a West Wing for her with her name, because she was a true pioneer, loved rhythm and blues, loved being supreme,
mm-hmm.
And she's going to be missed.
Yes, indeed. One of the legendary ladies of Motown, and we'll surely miss
sir.
Mary. And so what's next? You say you got another induction coming after next year, right?
Yeah, you know what? We're trying to just kind of see where this pandemic is going.
Mm-hmm.
Once we figure that out, then I'll be able to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. Particularly too early, they win, but we got some good people that we talked with, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells.
Okay.
I was on a show with her from there on Monday with David Washington on the 20 Grand Review,
mm-hmm.
Sandra Dash, and she was excited. We're going to induct them.
Okay.
Bring them in. And then we can get Patty in there. And
mm-hmm.
We got to get those intruders in there. Somehow we got to get the intruders in there.
Yeah.
A great group.
The intruders.
And are still living, am I correct?
Yeah. How about the Blue Notes? Are they in there yet, LaMont?
We got to get the Blue Note in there, too.
Yes, indeed.
I had put a call out to Harold Nolan's
all right, well, we look forward to you keeping us updated on the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame. LaMont, you're doing so much great work, and just, I know it can be challenging at times, but just keep on keeping on, keep doing what you're doing, LaMont, because it's definitely necessary. We got to, keep this music out there,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. And you keep doing what you're doing, and anytime you need me, I'm just a phone call away. And when I get ready to make this next announcement, you'll be the first to know.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you checking in and sharing some insight on Miss Mary Wilson and talking about her hosting of the shows and all the great things she did. And I didn't realize she was a board member of your foundation.
Yeah, she's a board member, and I mean, she was just a pillar, man. I mean, she was really, really into it, and I'm going to just miss her, man. I mean, the world is going to miss an icon, true icon, and one of the things that I want to leave you guys, leave people in Radio Land with, I describe her as hard on the outside, soft on the inside, and willing to stick out for a good cause. I mean, she was working on getting a stamp for Flo Ballard. She was on the Truth Music Board in terms of, groups going around saying that they're the originals, and now she was on that. She was lobbying with me. She was always going,
Mm-hmm.
She was on Dancing with the Stars. So, I mean, her life was full.
Yeah, she did a lot. She did, I think at 75, she was on Dancing with the Stars. She did her thing, and she did, her work is done. But her legacy will live on. All right, LaMont. Well, I appreciate you checking in, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Keep us updated. You still got a website, LaMont, for your foundation?
Yes, sir, I do. Yep.
What's the website address?
Anybody wants to go to our website, go to www.rphallfame.com.
Jim Marshall on the R&B Showcase 106.5 FM, coming at you from the heart and soul of Philadelphia. And we are celebrating the life and legacy of Motown icon Miss Mary Wilson of the Supremes. And our special guest tonight is a singer, playwright, actress, lead singer of the group Glass House under the production of Holland Dozier and Holland on their Invictus Hot Wax Records. Went on to become the lead singer, one of the greatest and best-selling female vocal groups of all time. And their legacy includes 12 number one singles from the Supremes. We're going to welcome a legendary Lady of Motown, Miss Scherrie Payne, to the R&B Showcase. Good evening, Scherrie.
Hi, Tim.
How
Hi.
you
Hi,
doing?
everybody. I'm doing okay. Hanging in there, as they say.
That's good. It's good.
Pumping.
Good to hear
Yeah.
from you. And Sherry, I was just thinking that the last time I saw you was at D. Wellman's Golden Mike Awards at the
Oh,
Prince
my
Music
goodness.
Theater.
Wow.
That was in
Oh,
2015. That was a while ago there.
was that 2015?
It
Oh,
sure
my
was, because my,
goodness.
my mother was still living then. She was on that show with you guys, Miss Marilyn
That's
Marshall.
right. That's
Yes.
right.
And it
That's
was
right.
Night of Beautiful Voices. You had Melba Moore, Jean Carn, Sarah Dasher, LaBelle, Miss Marilyn Marshall, Jeannie Tracy, Joe Paton, Norman Connors,
Yeah.
many great artists. I mean, that was just a great show, great camaraderie of
Listen, yeah.
artists.
I had such a wonderful time that night, and your mother was just fantastic.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Sherry.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
was so sorry to hear of
Mm-hmm.
her. I won't say lost. No, we know where she went. She went on.
Listen, they're all singing up there and having a good old time, and
That's right. That's
that's,
right.
that's great.
That's right.
And many folks don't know we also met years ago at the Supremes convention. I was talking to a young man, producer Andy Skurow. He said that was 1996. Was it that long ago?
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Don't even remember. Dang.
Yes, it was a
Oh
while
my
ago.
goodness.
Yeah, yes indeed.
Wow.
So we
Oh my
can
goodness.
go back a little ways there, Miss Sherry.
Yeah, that's right.
hmm
Oh wow. Time is flying.
Also, should be noted you
Oh,
are the sister of Frida Payne from the Band of Gold fame.
yes.
Great song,
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Thank you. Yeah, she's gone a long ways off of that one
hmm
song. Let me
hmm
tell you. Let
hmm
me tell you.
Yeah, she has some.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys are both on Invictus Hot Wax. Was that around the same time you were on that label?
Yes, we were. We were on there the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Same time, along with the Jones Girls, Eloise Laws, we did the Honeycomb,
Mm-hmm.
chairman of the board.
Wow.
Who else was that? 100 Proof Aged in
Mm-hmm.
Soul. Oh, it
Wow.
was just so wonderful. Yeah.
Now that was Edna Wright. That's Darlene Love's sister, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Edna, passed away in
Mm-hmm.
September of
Right.
last year.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Another
so
one of the
tragic.
great
Oh, my
voices.
goodness.
So,
Another great singer.
oh yeah, she had a very powerful voice. Great singer. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Sherry Payne,
Mm-hmm.
tell us, give us some history. Tell us how you met up with Mary Wilson and got started and became the lead singer of the Supremes.
Well, back in '73, it was. I had, of course, with the Glass House, and things had sort of calmed down with the Glass House as far as work-wise. And I toured for a year along with Carolyn Crawford, who pulled me in singing backup for Charo.
Mm-hmm.
And we went all over the country. And I had met Mary, I think, a couple of times before, but I didn't really know her. Frida knew her, and they were, I won't say friends, as Frida would say, but they knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
And but that summer of '73, LaMont Dozier, who was my boyfriend at the time, had come out to California, and he ran into Mary at an event. And she told him that Jean Terrell was just leaving the group, or had left the group, actually, and they were looking for another lead singer. Could he suggest someone? So naturally, he told her about me.
Mm-hmm.
And so she called me, and I sent out a couple of the Glass House albums, along with the pictures and stuff. And lo and behold, 2 days later, it was a Thursday night, and I was over to my best friend's house, Walter and Barbara Gaines. Walter was a member of the group, The Originals,
Mm-hmm.
and Lamont was there with me. And so my mother called and said, Mary Wilson wants to talk to you, and had given them the number, and so Mary the number rather. And so Mary called me and said, I'd love for you to come to L.A. I really liked what I saw. I said, oh, she said, I'd love for you to come to Los Angeles. I said, well, when? She said, how about Saturday? I said, Saturday? This is Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, okay. And so everybody, Walt and Barb and Lamont were just so happy. And then Lamont took me on home, and I told my mother, and she was just ecstatic. And then I said, oh, no, I can't do that. I'm scared. The Supremes, oh, that's way too big. And so my mother gave me that pep talk like a mother will do.
Mm-hmm.
And that Saturday morning, I was on a flight to Los Angeles,
Mm.
and Cindy Birdsong and her husband at that time, Charles Hewitt, picked me up at the airport, and we went straight to Mary's house,
Mm-hmm.
suitcase and all, and we started in rehearsals. And I didn't know they had a gig the following Saturday in
Wow.
the New Mexico State Fair.
Mm-hmm.
I said, dang. So it was nonstop. I don't even think I had a chance to be nervous because I had so much to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So Mary was so helpful. I mean, we always had such a great time rehearsing, and she made it fun. She was a worker because she wanted to be right. You know, it had to be right to keep up that tradition, and it always was, I think. But we went, dug in, and rehearsed every single day up until the morning we left, and got to the state fair. And I remember going in. We were going into the side entrance, and the fans were all lined up, and they were yelling and screaming, Mary, Cindy, and they were calling me Diana. Diana, can I have your autograph? I'm not Diana, Diana.
That's funny.
And I did the show, and then afterwards, Mary said you did, and the manager, Bill Loeb, at that time, said you did a great job. You got it. I said, oh, thank you. And
Fantastic.
That was it. And next thing I knew, I was moving to Los Angeles from Detroit in that December of 73.
So when you first joined the Supremes, the person was you, Mary, and Cindy, right?
Right, yes.
Okay. So then after that, it became, you had another young lady that joined you, right?
Susie Green. She joined us in 76 when Cindy left.
Okay.
And so Susie Green came in and filled Cindy's shoes. And they used to call me a little lady with a big voice, which at first I got insulted. I said, are you trying to sing? I just sing loud. They said, no, your voice is just powerful. I said, oh, okay. That's a little better. But then Susie came in, and she's shorter than me. And so I said, you can't call me the little lady with the big voice anymore. Susie is powerful. But anyway, Susie came in, and we started all over again, learning songs and choreography and doing songs that maybe we couldn't have done with Cindy because Susie has a different type of voice. Right. And but it was just wonderful. Susie is just a wonderful person. She's such an encourager. And we did a lot of laughing, as with Cindy, too, who's my dear friend. I love Cindy, the sweetest person you ever want to meet. And but we always had such a great time on the road. I mean, I got to travel all over the world. And here I come from Detroit. I hadn't really been anywhere other than Canada and maybe Puerto Rico with my sister when she was singing. And I had just gone from high school to Michigan State, and I graduated in 66 with a bachelor's in medical technology. But I knew I didn't want to be a med tech. And so when I got home, my mother said, well, you better get a job doing something because I paid all this money for you to go to college. I think she said $1,200 a year for you to go to college. If she could only know now how much college costs. But anyway, so I taught school, Grayling School of Observation, senior ungraded boys. And that's where I taught until I got the gig with the Glass House at Invictus Records. It was just a magical time. Mary was just so, and she loved to cook. Oh, Mary could cook, yeah.
Oh,
she
wow.
liked to cook healthy foods, too.
That's
She
good.
introduced me to so much. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Glass House and home cooking, you recorded a track that had us all eating the crumbs off the table. Before joining Mary Wilson of Pre-Supreme's classic Scherrie Payne in the Glass House, the best of Invictus Hot Wax on the R&B Showcase. So hungry for your love, got me eating the crumbs off the table from the Heart and Soul Detroit, Michigan Motown. That's Glass House, a band put together by Holland Dozier Holland for their Invictus Hot Wax records. The year was 1969 for our special guest, and this is prior to joining Mary Wilson and Supreme. Scherrie Payne was a lead singer for that group and then went on to become lead singer for the Supremes. And how many albums did you record with the Supremes, Scherrie?
3 or 4, I'm trying to remember. Because I was there from 73 till the end of the group, which was 77. I think we did 3. Because we didn't start recording until 74. That's when the first album came out.
Now, where were you recording at when you started recording? Was that on the West Coast?
Yes, on the West Coast.
Okay, so everything was out in
California.
Okay.
Yes, at Motown, yes.
All right, now, you originally from the California, Scherrie?
No, born and raised in Detroit.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, yeah, born and raised
Born in
Motown.
All right, now.
Both Frida and I. In fact, she went to junior high school with LaMont and Brian and Eddie and Aretha Franklin.
Boy, a lot of talent in Detroit, huh?
Hutchins Junior High School.
Ooh, wow. Yes, indeed.
That's where we all went. Yes.
Now, not only were you a member of the Supremes, you were also part of the Diana Ross and Supremes Return to Love Tour. And I was at that opening night. That was in Philadelphia. What was that experience like for you working with Diana?
In 2000. And originally, it was when the guy called me, Scott Sander, who was the promoter, producer rather, and he called and said, I'm Scott Sander. And I was on the phone talking to Susie at the time, actually. And he said, Diana Ross would like you to join her on the Return to Love tour. And whoa, boy, I almost fell off the chair. And so I said, well, what would I be doing? Who? He said, well, it would be Diana, of course, Mary Wilson, and Cindy Birdsong. So I thought, well, maybe I would be just off stage, adding to the backgrounds or something like that. And I didn't know. So then later on that night when he called me back, I said, what about the other Supremes? He said, well, who are they? I said, well, there's Jean Terrell, Linda Lawrence, Susie Green, who I was speaking with when you called. And he says, well, I don't know. He said, I said, I'll give you their numbers, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the next morning he called early and said, I ran that idea by Diana. How about having all of the Supremes? And she thought it was a fantastic idea. So I gave him their numbers, but I said, oh, can you let me call them first? I want to be the one to tell them. He said, oh, okay. So I did. I called Jean, I called Cindy, Susie, and Linda. And it was all planned. We were supposed to go to New York the following Tuesday. We even planned what we were wearing. It was all set. And early that Tuesday morning, about 5 o'clock or 4 something in the morning, the travel agent called. There's been a huge snowstorm in New York. And so all flights from JFK were canceled.
Wow.
No flights. Yeah, and so after that Tuesday morning, everything just went, what do you call it, left or whatever. All the plans got changed. So.
But I love the show, though. It was a great show.
Oh, thank you.
I got to see it. I think you were sing Stone Love on that show, one of those shows, or Up the Ladder. Yeah.
Yes, I did Stone Love, and Linda did Up the Ladder to the Roof. But we had a great time. But some people thought that Diana's fans thought that Mary had messed it up. No, she didn't. It just didn't work out.
Right.
And
okay, that's
whatever, God has his reasons for things happening. That's
exactly.
What I say, but
now, how are the other ladies doing? Jean Terrell, we haven't heard from her in a while. Cindy and
I haven't
Susie.
heard from Jean in a long time. Cindy, I used to keep up with Cindy. I haven't talked to her. In fact, the last time I saw her, I had planned to go see her actually last year, and then this pandemic happened.
Right.
I couldn't go. And, Susie, of course,
right.
I keep in touch with, and Linda Lawrence. We live walking distance from each other.
Oh, wow.
Linda and I are good friends. Yes.
So tell us about your group, the legendary, the former Ladies of the Supremes. You still got that group together, right? Tell us about your group.
Former Ladies of the Supremes, which we can't really say former ladies of Universal said so. So we go by our names. Of course, it was Linda and Scherrie, formerly of the Supremes.
Okay.
Or now Scherrie and Susie, formerly of the Supremes. Because our contract said we could always say we're formerly of. So that's what we do. Okay. So it's for Scherrie and Susie, formerly of the Supremes, with Joyce Vincent.
And
she of course, was an original member of Tony Orlando and Dawn.
Yeah, that was a good group. Yeah, great songs. Do you do any of her songs too, in the show?
Yes, we do. Yeah. We do some of Tony Orlando's songs. Yes, we do.
That's great. So
yeah, Joyce has that wonderful sultry voice. Also, something like Mary. Mary had that beautiful, sexy, sultry voice. And, she was just great.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. There's a couple of renditions, including one from the Supremes and the Temps, and Andrew Skurow talked about this version, the Supremes featuring Miss Mary Wilson, and it's a Bob Gaudio composition originally written for Frankie Valli, and that is the Supremes rendition. And on the line we have our special guest as we pay tribute to Mary Wilson. We have one of the lead singers of the Supremes, the incomparable Miss Scherrie Payne, and Scherrie, that track with Mary Wilson sounding good.
She was just great.
Yes, I like what she.
Gracious lady.
Oh yeah. We're gonna miss Mary. I mean, I remember seeing her at different events over the years, vocal group Hall of Fame events, and hosting different various shows and PBS special. I remember I think that's probably the last time I saw Mary was at the PBS special. That was a few years back. And it was a whole bunch of different artists on that show. That was in Pittsburgh, TJ Lubinsky show, I think that was. So I think Jean Terrell was also on that show too. I believe so. I think so. I'm not sure it was that. I know it was either that one or another show that they did, but she sang Stone Love on one of those shows. Yeah.
You're right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Was Frida on that show too?
Yes, Frida Payne was on that show too. Yes, she was.
That's right. Yeah,
yes, she did a Band of Gold. Yeah, that's on DVD now. They have that out. that's available.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yes.
indeed. So I'm hoping when this COVID situation gets under control that we can see you ladies back on the road again.
Oh, I would love to be back on the road. It just feels so weird,
Mm-hmm.
just to be cooped up in the house. And oh, I mean, who would have thought anything like this would ever happen?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew.
Yes.
Nobody knew
Yeah,
but
but,
God. So, but we have to deal with it and just wear a mask, be safe.
mm-hmm.
And the only time I go out, I go for knee therapy tomorrow. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then I go to Costco or
Okay.
the grocery store. That's about the only place I go.
Okay. Getting ready to do
I
some
did go
cooking
to
now,
a
right?
fellowship meeting today.
Okay.
Yeah, at Denny's, which is outdoor dining again. So,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I'm glad they have outdoor dining. And you're also a good
yeah.
cook too, right, Sherrie?
What did you
I
say?
say you're also a good cook, right? You like to cook.
Well, I'm making taco shells right
Okay.
now.
Oh, I
I
like.
don't know
Oh,
about that. I mean, tacos are pretty easy. How can you mess up tacos?
no,
Dang.
that's one of my. I like Mexican food and tacos and stuff. I'm about to fly out to California now. I'm gonna be on that next flight out there. Give me some tacos, Scherrie Payne's tacos.
Well, that's a popular thing out here,
No,
tacos.
sounds good to
Yeah,
me. But
but my thing is barbecuing.
mm-hmm.
I
All right.
love because I make my own sauce from
Okay.
scratch, and Mary loved my barbecue too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she loved it. She appreciated my barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh boy.
Well, we're gonna miss Mary, but the
Yes,
legacy of
we
the
are.
Supremes will live on, and you ladies, I applaud you for doing your part to keep that sound out there and just keeping it going. We got to keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
You
Thank you,
know,
Tim. Well, we have to keep that Supreme legacy alive. Because Mary put her
absolutely.
heart and soul
Mm-hmm.
into it. That was her lifetime, and so we can't let her down. Or Diana down either. Florence, she works so hard
Mm-hmm.
to keep that legacy going, and if it weren't for her, I never could have been there. So I
Mm-hmm.
owe everything to Mary, and I love her dear. I love her. I would put it past her.
Mm-hmm.
I love Mary dearly, and as Sue said the other night. She's Queen Supreme. That's what she is.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. She deserves all the accolades.
All right.
All the accolades.
Well, it's good talking with you. We're gonna let our heart do the walking now, right?
Okay, Tim.
Okay. It's good talking with you, Sherrie.
You too.
And you take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Okay.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye. We are celebrating the life and legacy of Motown icon Miss Mary Wilson of the Supremes. And on the line, our special guest, he's a Reissue producer and vault manager at Universal Music Group, producing compilations of great Motown classics and more, including hits and rare classics from artists like the Supremes. We're going to welcome Andrew Skurow to the R&B Showcase. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm good. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing well. It's good to hear your voice, man.
It's always good to hear your voice.
Andrew, do you have a publicist, man? You're harder to get a hold of some of these artists, man.
You know what? It's just been a very, very busy time. I don't think anybody expected, this to happen with Miss Wilson. It just broke all of our hearts, and I think that it's. When something like this catches you off guard, you're left kind of scrambling, and,
I understand.
And we were in the middle of doing so many things, and it's hard because you have to grieve, and at the same time you have to work. So, but I promise I'll try to be more available in the future.
That's all good, brother. But listen, talking about work, you worked with Mary Wilson over the years. Talk about your association with the Motown legend.
Okay. Well, first of all, I started off like most everybody else did as a fan. I was a kid collecting everything I could on the Supremes, on Motown, on, just all these great artists that I loved and who moved me right down to my core. And so when I was 8 years old, I met Diana Ross. And at the age of 8, meeting her, it was larger than life, And by meeting Diana, I was very excited to have met her and to get a chance to talk to her. But I remember being so starstruck at that time that I regretted not being able to say all the things I wanted to say to show my appreciation. So flash forward, I was 18 years old. I was living in Las Vegas, and Mary Wilson came through, and we met. I talked to her. She was just wonderful, and I asked her if I could take her to lunch.
Okay.
And Mary said, I can't go to lunch because I've got a really tight schedule, but I'm moving to Las Vegas, and maybe we can get together in a couple of weeks when I get here. And I said, that would be amazing. And remember, I was 18 years old, so she asked me if I was interested in being a big brother to her children, who were only a few years younger than I am, or was at the time. So, I said absolutely. What she did not know, because Mary and I were always very lockstep in sync with each other, she didn't know that I was actually looking into being a big brother with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. And so I thought that was just such a, fortuitous moment. And she did move to Las Vegas, and I did become a big brother to her children, and I did become a member of the family. And I was then eventually I was in college, and I was, doing that and working for her, and also I had a job, a regular job, and it was a great experience and a great time because we were family. But her assistant, Alan Poe, was ill. And Mary asked if I would help out in the office and then eventually take over in the office, and I did. And I even said to her, Mary, I really don't know anything about being a personal assistant. And she said, that's okay, we'll teach you. And that was a pretty amazing thing. And I said, because I kind of looked at her blankly. I said, you'll teach me? And she said, yeah, that's the way we did it at Motown. If you didn't know how to do something, we would teach you how to do it. And I thought that's amazing, especially today, in a day where if you don't have the perfect resume, you get looked over. You have to have that experience to get that experience, And Mary was ready to open doors for me, not by giving me anything, but by giving me opportunity so that I could build and grow on my own. And if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get the reward. And Mary was very big on that, and she was always a mother figure to me. So, in addition to our friendship, it was like having a second mother to my own, and it was wonderful. So eventually, Mary moved from Las Vegas back to Los Angeles, and I didn't work for her for a few years, but I remained close with her and with her children. And then in 1994, she had a terrible car accident where she lost her youngest son, and her youngest son Ralphie, and that was my little brother. And so it was a very traumatic time for everyone. And I feel I don't know that Mary ever. I don't think anyone ever recovers from something like that, but Mary was definitely a very different person after that. And we bonded together even more after that, I think because of her mothering role for me and her own children. So in 1995, when she was moving to New York, she knew that I was an actor and I wanted to pursue my acting career. And she said, would you like to come to New York with me? And can you be there in 3 weeks?
Okay.
So I packed up and I moved to New York, and I worked for her for a few more years.
Wow.
And during that time, she said to me, I only want you to be my assistant for another year to 2 years. She said, because you will grow stagnant in this position, and you were destined for bigger and better things.
That's nice.
And I mean, that's the most generous thing anyone could give you, right? I really, it was a great experience. I moved to New York. I got to know so many people in the industry and so many things. And my acting career went right down into the toilet.
Now, you talked about the time in Vegas. You talked about the time in Vegas. Where was that during the period when she was crafting her first autobiography?
So right after, Mary had put out Dream Girl in 1986. Okay. And then she put out a second book, Supreme Faith, in 1990. Okay. And I met Mary in 1991.
Okay. All right.
I officially worked for her. And I say officially because I never stopped working for her. I think once you're in the Mary Wilson organization, you're with her forever.
For life. Yes, indeed.
So, absolutely. And so so my official years were 1991 to 1996. Okay. And then, as it turned out, completely unrelated, yet completely related to Mary, my career went from acting into music production, into reissues and compilations. Okay. And so even though Mary didn't direct me in that in that area. It was all of what she was training me to do that led me to that moment. So Mark Bigo, who was Mary's best friend, is Mary's best friend, and who was staying with Mary for a little while I was living and working for her. He and I became very good friends, and so Mark had in 1998. I want to say 1998, could be 1999. Mark had a book called Leonardo DiCaprio on the New York Times bestseller list, and he threw a party. And at that party was a publicist. Her name was Barbara Shelley. Barbara Shelley had represented just about everybody from Aretha Franklin to, just everybody, and at different points. And so she said to me, well, Mark said, you need to meet Andy. Andy knows everything there is to know about Motown. And of course, I don't know that I know everything, but I thought it was a very nice build-up. And she said, well, who sang Shop Around? And I thought, well, that's the Miracles. Well, who wrote Shop Around? Oh, that'd be Smokey Robinson. Who this, who that? And I just kept answering all the questions. So she asked for my business card, and she gave it to a man named Harry Wanger. Okay. And Harry is he was the head of catalog for Polygram for the Motown label. Okay. And Polygram eventually became Universal Music Group. Well, Harry asked me if I would like to come work with him on reissues and compilations. And so my hobby as Motown, in the world of Motown, from the time I was a little kid until now that I'm, in my 20s at that point, was like, well, I didn't know I could turn my hobby into a career. I wasn't planning on it, but I thought this would be a really wonderful opportunity because I've been doing this in my bedroom since I was a kid, making my own tapes and my own track lists and set lists. And I thought, this is a good gig. So I started producing, and I started doing it for many artists on the Motown label. But especially my specialty became the Supremes, Diana Ross and the Supremes, or Diana Ross. And then I have also done it for everyone. It feels like all of the Motown artists, but so many of the Motown artists, from Brenda Holloway to the Jackson 5, and even non-Motown artists. I've worked on projects for Sammy Davis Jr., and I've done liner notes for the Pointer Sisters and I'm just trying to think, Toni Braxton and Deborah Cox. And, it's been a really wonderful experience to be in this business. And all of that I can attribute to Miss Wilson, to Mary Wilson, who gave me my start and my opportunity and who always believed in me right from the beginning.
Paying tribute to Motown icon Mary Wilson of the Supremes, want to thank LaMont "ShowBoat" Robinson, the founder of our R&B Hall of Fame, for checking in, and also Scherrie Payne, the former lead singer of the Supremes. Right now, we're talking to music historian and record producer Andrew Skurow, a personal assistant to Mary Wilson. Now, you were a younger person. How did you said at 8 years old you became a Supremes fan, but you're much younger, how did you gravitate toward this particular music? What is it about it that made you,
So it's an interesting story. When I was very small, I saw The Wiz. Okay. So I'm 48 now. I'll give for anybody out there who's trying to figure it out. I'm 48. So I saw The Wiz, and The Wiz, of course, was a commercial. It was a commercial success, but a critical failure. Okay. I think that we are harder on. I always say that a movie that was considered a bad movie in the 70s is considered a great movie today, because bad movies today are really bad. And you go, wait, that movie's not bad. That movie's great. Yeah. But I think that sometimes they're not seen for what they are. Okay. So I responded to everything that this movie was. So you're looking at, the original piece by Charlie Smalls, but I'm responding to the music of Quincy Jones, Ashford and Simpson, an incredible roster of musicians and singers who are on this record, people like Luther Vandross and Cissy Houston who are on this record. Sure. I'm responding to that. Plus, to the movie itself, the talents of Diana Ross and Michael Jackson, and the list goes on, and the filmmaking of Sidney Lumet. You know what I mean? So that was the first thing that interested me in the Motown sound.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually goes even further back, because if you go on YouTube and watch, there is this amazing 7.5 minute video of Stevie Wonder doing Superstition on Sesame Street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you need to watch. I tell everybody, watch this clip,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a couple of different things on Sesame Street, but you need to look up Superstition specifically. And Ray Parker Jr. is there, and and Ollie Brown, and it's really like an amazing musical moment, and it's on children's television.
Mm-hmm.
It's not geared towards an adult. This is geared towards me, what I was at that moment, and so that's what interested me. This sound, this R&B sound, and for this little white kid in Las Vegas, to hear this R&B music just really affected me.
Right.
Okay, and so now as you move forward, I start to discover, I discovered The Wiz, so I discovered Diana Ross, and I said to my stepfather, did she sing anything else? Then, what did she have? What other songs did she have?
Right.
And he came home the next day with Lady Sings the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, and the Supremes Anthology.
Absolutely.
And so it's really the perfect introduction for anyone to have these two pieces, So now not only am I listening to R&B, I'm listening to jazz now, and I'm getting a musical education that I think other kids my age weren't getting, and also on top of that, this is the middle of the disco era. So so now that's the current popular music of its time, and so I'm in the middle of getting all this incredible musical knowledge and education, very young age, and right in the middle of that, Michael Jackson explodes with Off the Wall.
Oh, yeah. Great album.
and later with Thriller. So it's very in vogue for me to just hear all this on the radio every day and to start absorbing it. So I'm, the one thing about Motown's 25th anniversary, which came in 1983, and just prior to Motown 25, I would say probably about 1981, Motown was reissuing its albums. And so it was very easy and cheap to get a copy of, Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell's United album, or All I Need. And so one by one, I would go into the record store and see these records and, spend all my allowance on it, beg my parents if I could, have a little extra money because I was, $1 short to buy this or that, looking for what was on sale, trying to get my hands on everything and just absorbing it. And so I always tell people that I discovered Diana Ross, okay? And I don't mean I discovered her, but I discovered her by myself. I discovered her on the radio. And just Diana Ross introduced me to the Supremes. The Supremes introduced me to Motown. And Motown introduced me to the world. And that really was it right there.
That's great. That's great. That brought that sound to a whole new generation, man. And we're just going to keep on and keeping this sound out there. And you're doing a lot of compilations. How do you go about deciding what classic songs to re-release?
Well, that's a great question. So, I do it. I've been doing it for the last 22 years with Harry Wenger, who still works in the catalog division for Universal Music Group. And so in the beginning, it was what he was deciding to do, especially because he was, doing it for Motown. So, I would be helping out on his projects. So in many projects, it was about researching and figuring it out. So we might be doing, say, I don't know, we were doing Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? And it's not just pulling this classic album, which is probably one of the greatest albums of all time.
Absolutely.
But it's also about seeing what else is available from that time. What did Marvin record in those? If you were to look at the session logs and tape cards day after day, there are sessions, and you can go, oh, well, Marvin was recording, did maybe another 10 songs from that era. So the idea was, let's do an expanded edition of something like Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. And of course, we ended up doing an entire series of expanded editions where, like for Marvin, that was a little different because we were able to do alternate mixes and all these great songs that he recorded at the time that were unreleased. and you research it and you get all the information. You talk to people who were there. But for me, it started off with, it was the 40th anniversary at the time of the Supremes' Where Did Our Love Go?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do something special for the anniversary. And what I figured was, if you, in the 60s, now remember I was younger, so I was collecting them at used record stores.
Mm-hmm.
So I would sometimes pick up the album and it was the mono. Sometimes I would get it was the stereo. And then years later, I'd have to go back and buy the opposite one that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that everyone's experience was different.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have had a hi-fi at home and someone else may have had a stereo at home.
Right.
And your versions of those albums are different, but your memories
Mm-hmm.
are very specific to the one you had.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we said, all right, let's make disc one, the mono album and the stereo album.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have the one you have and you have the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've given you that. Now disc two, let's do all these previously unreleased bonus tracks or maybe rare things that you didn't know. Like we put in an early version of Baby Love before Diana did the ooh, 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 ooh.
Okay.
So I'm not saying it, sorry. And then let's cap it off with a live show because, they were doing Motown reviews,
mm-hmm.
and so they had a very short set.
Mm-hmm.
And what songs were they doing in 1964? Just at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
if you were to see them the week that Where Did Our Love Go was number one, or just before it was, what songs were they doing?
Mm-hmm.
And so you hear them do some of the songs that are on the album, like When the Love Light Starts Shining Through His Eyes and A Breathtaking Guy. But you also discover that they're doing things like I Am Woman and People,
Mm-hmm.
From Funny Girl. And that's, that's a big,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big deal. This is 1964.
Mm-hmm.
And they're covering Barbra Streisand.
Yes.
So we started to do that and the audiences responded right away.
Mm-hmm.
So we started doing more and more of these expanded editions. So, and I was just thrilled to be doing them.
Mm-hmm.
So now to answer your question, I didn't forget,
It's all right.
is that as time progressed, I started specializing in these reissues of these Diana Ross and the Supremes expanded editions. But I started working with third parties because now we are in an era where most everybody streams,
Mm-hmm.
listens to the radio,
Yep.
and you're getting things off of all these different places. But the Supremes fans, many of the Motown fans, are older, and they like having
Mm-hmm.
the physical product in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So we started working with third-party companies, like Real Gone Music, where we could license out the Motown material to a company that would put it out physically. Universal would put it out digitally, someone else would put it out physically. And so I was able to start branching out into areas of things that, and do it with people like George Solomon or with Joe Marchese, to start looking at rarer pieces of the Motown catalog. So about 3 years ago, we did a complete unreleased collection of Bobby Darin on Motown.
Mm-hmm.
And because Motown had a lot of very interesting white artists that they signed through the years, and Bobby Darin was someone who wanted to sing all kinds of music. So the material that came out on Bobby was mostly material that some of it had been produced by Bob Crew, who was responsible for the Four Seasons, and people like that. But what we found was, hey, there's Bobby Darin tracks produced by Smokey Robinson, produced by Ashford and Simpson, produced by the Corporation, who did all the Jackson 5 hits. Let's look at that. Why
Mm-hmm.
haven't we touched that before?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good, and it's soulful, and it's beautiful, and so we touched that. Many fans had been asking for years and years, what about Blinky Williams?
Mm-hmm.
And Blinky Williams, most people only knew for two things. And these two things, I'm not minimizing them. I'm only saying it was only two things, but they were two great things.
Mm-hmm.
One, she sang "Tain't Nobody's Business"
Mm-hmm.
in the Lady Sings the Blues, and she sang it as more like a Bessie Smith on the Lady Sings the Blues soundtrack. And then she was known for being the female voice in the theme song to Good Times.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
so you know who she is. You
Yes.
just don't know who she is.
I completely forgot that she did that song. Yes, indeed. She did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we said, well, let's see what else is out there. What do we have? And we found some of the most amazing and soulful material I have ever heard. And it was unbelievable. You know, she does a version of the Stylistics, People Make the World Go Round.
Okay.
It's just unbelievable. And she has the pipes and the voice. And you think, how did she not turn into a massive star? Because she had everything. And some of the material, not so great. Some of the material, fantastic. And, you know, so Clay McMurray had written a song called If I Were Your Woman, which everyone knows, by Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Absolutely.
Right? And that song was supposed to be for Blinky. And Blinky missed her flight to Detroit. And they still had the session. So they had Gladys going into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's an interesting story, man.
Yeah. So you talk about, you know, a break that maybe that didn't happen for someone. So we went in and we started and we did this collection on Blinky, and that was the idea, to be able to give her a moment to shine. And it's called, you know, Blinky Williams' Heart Full of Soul, the Motown anthology, and I'm so proud of that because it was a moment to be able to share in what else is out there about Motown that maybe you don't know. That's it. You know, it to me, it's just as good as so many of the other recordings that we know and treasure. You just don't have the history of 50 or 60 years of listening to them repetitively all these years and having them grow on you yet. But hopefully, when you hear them, you'll let those grow on you too.
No question about it. Ain't nothing like those classics that just grow on you. Nothing like the Motown sound. Tim Marshall of the R&B Showcase with a Motown classic from Diana Ross and the Supremes. The year was 1968 with Love Child. And we're paying tribute to founding member Mary Wilson of the Supremes. And on the line, we've got Andrew Skurow, Motown historian, record producer, and of course, we're talking about some of the great classics that Mary performed with the Supremes. Now, Andrew, is there a solo rendition of Mary Wilson singing "You're Just Too Good to Be True, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You"? I know there's the version with her pairing with Eddie Kendricks and the Temptations, but is there one with her singing by herself?
She does. She does. We put it out on the Supremes box set. It's just called The Supremes. And it is. She did a solo version, same track, actually. Okay. And it's really, really good. And then we've never been able to remix it because they re-recorded over that vocal with the new vocal that they did as the duet with Eddie. Oh, okay. And, yeah.
Interesting.
And it's so nicely together on that album.
Yeah, that's nice to hear them together too, but that's one of her strong songs. I like that by her voice, you know, and there's a videotape with her doing that live in one of the concerts. So
Yes, live at the Hollywood Palace.
I love that, man.
Oh yeah, it's a great performance, and she's, first of all, you know, Mary can sing, and I think people don't always know that. You know, they think of her as a background singer in the Supremes, and it's more than that. You know, people bought a package of three beautiful black women who were a trio. Diana Ross singing lead, these two women singing right next to her, and it was like I always say the perfect recipe. You know, when you make a cake, you need just the right amount of flour and eggs and milk and water, and you need all that stuff to make it delicious. That's exactly what the Supremes would do.
You have all the right ingredients right there, man. That's great.
Exactly.
The Supremes in the 1970s, a co-lead with Mary Wilson and Jean Terrell, together with Cindy Birdsong and Floyd Joy. On the R&B Showcase, we've got Andrew Skurow, Motown music historian, on the line. And any plans to release any new material from Mary Wilson, maybe in time for her birthday? Our birthday's coming up March the 6th, isn't it?
March 6th is her birthday, and so it's the only thing I cannot talk about.
Okay.
Because until there's some kind of a press release, I can't say anything. But I will say this: isn't that great that I can't talk about something that maybe might exist? Yeah,
that's great. We'll look forward to finding out about that, Andrew. And hopefully, when we get past this COVID situation, we can get back to seeing some of these great artists out in performance. You know, some of the legends that are still with us. Be nice to see a nice show, a Motown show or a soul show or something, you know. Looking forward to it.
That.
I don't think I've seen you since Luther Vandross at B.B. King's. Has it been that long since I've seen you, Andrew?
I think it has been. Yeah. I think that's the last time I ran into you. That's a long time.
That is, you know. But, you know, we go back over 20 years, Supremes Convention, and was it 1998, was that?
I think it was earlier. I think it was 1995.
95 or
Might have been
96? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's been a long time, man. Them years of travel. You were a little kid then.
I was.
Like in this Motown. I said, what does this kid know about Motown? What do you know about Motown, Andrew?
That's the same thing. I have to tell you, because everybody always said that to me. And someone else said that to me. I was, oh my gosh. So just I went to see the Temptations in Las Vegas. And I'm standing backstage, and I'm talking to Norman Whitfield. Well, I wasn't backstage; I was actually in the casino. I was walking through the casino, and I saw Norman Whitfield. I said, Mr. Whitfield, I said, would you please sign my book? I was so excited, and he said, wait a minute, who are you? And he goes, you don't know who I am. Somebody told you that Norman Whitfield was standing over here. I said, no, Mr. Whitfield, not at all. He goes, all right, well, who am I then? And I just started rambling on all of his credit. And he went, okay. You know who I am, all right. And then he was like, you're all right. So, yeah, I definitely don't look like your normal Motown historian. I think everyone was always surprised to see this short little white guy with glasses walking around.
But it's a great thing, man. It's a beautiful thing, and that just shows how far this music reaches and the impact of the music has and the power that this great music has. It touches all walks of lives and all types of people.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely a great thing. And speaking of which, talking about Temptations, did you get a chance to see Ain't Too Proud, the play from the Temps?
I loved it. I thought it was great. Such a great show.
I did too. I thought it was good.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I thought it was really, really well done. I thought the actors and the young man that sang Paul Williams did a great job, man. For once in my life.
It's just a beautiful moment in that show. And, it was funny because when I was at Blinky Williams' show, I saw Shelley Berger, and Shelley was the Temps manager for forever. And we had a really good talk about it. And he's just so happy that the Temps were getting their due and the proper attention that they absolutely deserve as a group.
Andrew, I haven't talked to you in such a long time, but I appreciate you taking time. I know you got a very busy schedule, but I appreciate you taking the time to be part of the R&B Showcase radio show here today. Have a great day, Andrew. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.